So I'm coming out of the restaurant, there's a young guy, killer looking BMW with a hood up. There's no dipstick. I have my laptop, I plug it in under the dashboard. One of the threads that I want to unravel when somebody says, I'm an expert,
Okay.
it just causes me a little anxiety.
Okay.
Usually I work on some pretty complex challenges, and what I try to do is design as much flexibility into a project. I consider myself an all-pro sales guy. And they said, I follow you. That is a rookie mistake. We're looking at this BMW. And the young lady who waited on says to me, sir, you forgot your credit card. I thought, here we are, instant payback, paying it forward. Are we taping?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everyone, I'm here on the couch with my good friend Breen, who is the owner of Scope Design and the main reason why all my videos look so good. And it's the end of the year, and I wanted to just have an interview with him to give him credit where credit's due, and also talk about some of the things that I like to do at the end of the year. And also address some changes in our world with some of the AI that's coming out that has affected me and you in a very high impactful way.
Yeah.
So I'm fully charged, caffeine fueled, and I'm ready to go. So it's going to break down like this. Think of it as I have two handful of phrases and threads and words and broken sentences that are all bundled up, and then over here I have some stories that we can share that will help untangle this mess.
Okay.
So let's begin with something that happened to me yesterday coming out of a restaurant in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And so I'm coming out of the restaurant with my cousin, who happens to be a retired certified automobile mechanic.
Okay.
Very good at what he does.
Okay.
We come around the parking lot, and there's a young guy, probably 19, 20, 21.
Okay.
Killer looking BMW with a hood up.
Oh, okay.
So my cousin says, hey, we having car problems. And he says, yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. And so, my cousin jumps right in, and I kind of jump in, and, my cousin and I are the same age. We grew up in the hot rodding era.
Okay.
So first thing we do is, fluids, all that stuff, right?
Okay.
He said it was overheating a little bit. So we're looking for a dipstick. There's no dipstick.
Really?
No dipstick, really.
Okay.
And then there's no stick for the transmission fluid. So I said to him, how do you check your oil? He says, oh, I have my laptop. I plug it in under the dashboard, and I get a dashboard that tells me
all that info.
I have oil and oil pressure. And so my cousin and I are just looking at each other. So I wanted to throw it out to you, how the world is changing.
Yeah.
With all this tech.
Yeah.
And kind of a trend that I'm going to predict, and then talk about what you probably heard about this, right to repair, or is it?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Right to repair?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So we've got all this information gathering and control stuff that's affecting your car, your computer, how you run your business. And I know we've been friends for over 10 years. I've seen how you have changed to address these things. And we can talk about that too.
Sure.
So, have at it.
Well, I mean, yeah, everything is getting more and more computer based. I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised that the BMW didn't have a dipstick, because you know, it's one thing for the computer to spit out information. It's another to actually see the oil on the
Yeah.
dipstick. So I mean, that's a little surprising, but I mean, that's the way things are going. Things are, you know, the world's changed. Like, you know, you used to go to a video store and rent a video, take it home and watch it, and bring it back to the video store. Now you can watch pretty much anything, anytime, streaming on services. But a lot of things, like, we don't own anymore. You know, we only rent those things. So, you know, maybe in terms of the BMW, at some point it's going to be a fee to be able to bring up that screen to be able to see if you have oil or not. I mean, it seems like that's the trend everything is going in.
It's kind of crazy. Before we get too deep into that, just tell who's ever listening out there all about Scope Design.
Sure. Scope Design is an ever-changing
Yes.
system, ever-changing business. So Scope started as a print and graphic design company 20 years ago, more than that maybe. We evolved from that into web development and web design, and are evolving again into AI automation for small and medium-sized businesses. We've really kind of stretched the gamut of, like, from graphic design to web design to now apps, AI-powered automations, all kinds of computer-related things. But what kind of sets us apart is the gamut that we've gone across has sort of positioned us to be really in tune with how markets change, how businesses need to evolve, how to take something a business is doing and look at it, like, from a very strategic point of view, to help automate, to help streamline, to help you know, look at it from a very unique perspective.
So we met because I was looking for somebody to do my website, and we became friends.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it evolved into a friendship, trusted friendship, and I recommend you every time I can.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure. And again, you know, you bring professionalism on the technology side of the videos that we do. I trusted you so much that I recommended you to my son's business.
Yep.
And so I love it when a supplier or a vendor that I engage becomes a trusted friend.
Yeah.
You're all over LinkedIn. How does the world find you? Yep.
How does the world find me?
Yeah.
My website's the easiest, scopedesign.com is
Okay.
the easiest way to get me.
And again, I know you're on LinkedIn.
I
Are
am.
you on Instagram or anything like that?
We're probably on
Something.
them. One thing about me in particular, I don't really do social media so much. My people on my team do it for us, but if you want to actually get me, just email curious@scopedesign.com.
Oh, I like that. Curious at Scope Design. That's great. One of the threads that I want to unravel is just a couple of words and phrases that I definitely avoid when I'm presenting. And when people use these words to me, it causes me to pause, sometimes even panic. And
Okay.
that is when somebody says, I'm an expert.
Okay.
When somebody says, no problem.
Okay.
When somebody says, piece of cake.
Uh-huh.
Okay, whenever anybody does a presentation with those phrases or those words, it just causes me a little anxiety.
Okay.
So let's start with expert.
Okay.
So it has been my experience that whenever I get involved with a so-called expert, they usually are lacking in some kind of expertise to address my challenge.
Yeah. I mean, somebody who who just outright says I'm an expert at that is definitely a little alarming.
Yeah.
You know, I would typically not say I'm an expert at something, because really every situation where you work with a client has nuance and different
Sure.
details. So
So
sometimes,
I would describe you as wicked smart. I mean, you could work your way, between you and I have worked our way through challenges.
yeah. I mean,
And on a rare occasion, I may even say something that's thought provoking.
yeah, that's happened.
That's actually happened.
Yeah.
And because your world is so much different than my world.
Yeah.
But so the other phrase is, no problem.
Mhm.
Well, usually I work on some pretty complex
Yeah.
challenges and projects.
Yeah.
Every project is going to have what I call a glitch.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's if you accept that, then you can kind of prepare yourself
Yeah, absolutely.
for glitches. So what I try to do is design as much flexibility into a project. And I've been blessed because I've been on this earth a while, and I've had great mentors.
Mhm.
And my early mentors were guys who were wicked smart, not necessarily degreed engineers, but I would put a handful of them that are coming to mind right now up against any degreed engineer.
Mhm.
And they just said simple things. And you've heard me say this, one of my favorite, is never put a hole where you can put a slot.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because that simple statement has like really changed the way that I like approach coding some things.
Oh,
like,
really? You applied it to coding?
Yeah, because
Interesting.
You just leave like the slot. You get a little slop in there.
Yeah.
You get a little room. I mean, I don't put slop in my code, but
Yeah.
I leave some room, or I take some extra time to think about like where else am I going to have to hook into this? Where else is a client going to say, "Hey, can it do?" And then rather than have to re-engineer and recode the whole thing, I can say, "Yeah, I have a hook there. I can do that."
Oh, I'm so, see, now that's the purpose of my life, is to just say something, make somebody think that it puts a little more money in their pocket, helps them overcome a pain point, work their way through a bottleneck. That's my purpose in life. So piece of cake, now that one, usually if someone says piece of cake, I kind of like start looking for another vendor, but
Yeah, I mean, piece of cake only works if like you've had that exact situation and solved that exact problem 100% the same
Yeah.
as what you're facing now. I mean, in my world, that very rarely happens. I mean, if I'm making a simple brochure website for somebody, could I say piece of cake? Maybe, but the design is going to come into play there, and
Sure.
and everybody has different preferences. So then I say piece of cake, and they look at the design and are like, "Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know." So
Speaking of design, I challenged you, I don't know, maybe a year ago, I challenged you and I said, look, I want to rework my website. And I want it to be different than anybody else's website.
mhm.
So then what you did is you challenged me with quite a lengthy series of questions,
Yeah,
which really made me think.
yeah,
Before I just came up, I had this concept, how do we bring this concept forward? I think it's pretty straightforward because I'm ignorant. I don't know what it takes. And then these questions start making me think.
yeah,
And what we came up with is a killer website.
yeah. I think it's pretty
So
awesome.
I think you can get there, jamessindoma.com
Mhm.
or Sterling
Innovations.com.
Innovations. Yeah, Sterling Innovations Group or
I don't remember.
yeah, it's one of it. Sterling IG, Sterling or
Yeah,
James
Sterling
James
IG,
Sindoma.
yeah.
Yeah, sterlingig.com will get you there. So and the website has done everything. I get great feedback,
Cool.
except one, and this is a good story. And that is somebody went in and they looked at my website. And again, I've been on this earth a lengthy time, so I have a lot of experience. So one of the things that I challenged Greg to do was to put categories up of everything that I've experienced.
Yes.
So somebody went into my website and they said, there's no way you can be an expert in all those areas. And there's that word again, expert. So I shuddered. I'm like, you're right. You're right. I'm not an expert in all those areas. All those areas is where I've had some experience in, and I can honestly say that when the level of my knowledge is challenged, I reach out to other people that are a lot smarter than I am,
For sure.
and they literally bail me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not a bailout. That's building a great network of people.
Yeah, and again, I've had the good fortune of building a network. You're part of my network. I reach out to you all the time. So that's kind of, we beat up the experts, right?
Yeah.
There is so the other one is, speaking that I consider myself
Okay.
an all-pro sales guy. I've
Yeah.
been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But I found out I made a rookie mistake.
Uh-oh.
And I found out that as much time as you have and as much experience as you have, I don't know if you really can ever say you're all pro. And
Okay.
I'll tell you where this came about. I was at a meeting, a gathering. I think it was for the petroleum, oil and gas, one of those associations.
Okay.
And somebody introduced me. And he said, hey, I'd like you to meet Jim Sindoma. And the other person said, oh, you're all over LinkedIn. I see you all over LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and they said, I follow you, and I think, well, it's great. He saw me. And I said, well, thanks for following me.
Sure.
And he goes, yeah, I appreciate some of your comments, but I had no idea what you do.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, that is a rookie mistake.
Yep.
Big time rookie mistake. I consider myself a pro. That's a big time rookie mistake, because anybody in sales knows that confused customer is a non-purchasing or non-buying customer. So I thought, and the rest of the evening I'm thinking, man, what a beat myself up, right? But then I realized that with the way things are changing, there's no such thing as somebody that is in a position where you stop learning.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you're always learning, then you're always a rookie.
Okay.
What do you think of that?
Learning is pretty much what I do every day. The thing that I find very interesting in today's world, maybe it's always been this way, but is that the best thing that I ever learned was how to learn. I could wrap up my whole college experience into, this is how you learn.
Yeah.
And I being an avid reader, being an avid researcher, being an avid person who's interested in what's happening, what's coming next, you just have to always learn and evolve.
And one of the things that you do well is you keep an open mind.
I try.
Yep. Well, we bounce a lot of ideas off of one another.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because I know you're curious. I want to get your perspective, and I know you're going to listen and say, okay, let's talk about that in more detail.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other threads I want to unravel, because we're coming into the holiday season, and so I always go through this little exercise, and I think you do too. What do I want to stop doing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what didn't work?
Yeah.
What do I want to stop doing? What do I need to address the changes? What habits? What things can I do? Because the marketplace is ever evolving, ever changing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
one of the habits that I decided that I wanted to stop doing was and this is gonna be kind of counterintuitive for an entrepreneur to say, but I've got to refocus because I've got all these visions that come through. You know, my mind is just flooding all the time.
Okay.
You know, and with ideas.
Okay.
And I'm thinking I've got to focus, zero in, take aim at like my best 3 ideas instead of trying to do everything.
Sure.
So, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. I'm a kind of person that I write down every day like 3 things that I need.
Oh, you're really disciplined at that.
That I need.
You're so good at that, it pisses me off sometimes. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, I believe it. So I try to like focus on what are the 3 things that I'm going to do today that are going to move the needle.
Yeah.
But you know, to your point, I mean, sometimes you end up in a rabbit hole on some of those things.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, you come out at the end of the day and you're like, I don't know if any of that's going to translate to cash.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, I think refocusing on a core set of things is a good plan.
For sure. Getting back to the story about the BMW, and you mentioned, you know, at some point you're going to have a subscription to the software.
Maybe.
Yeah, and that brings me into the right to repair.
Yeah.
And I've been following this, and of course it's interesting because very smart group of people, the farmers of America. So if you own a John Deere tractor, you won't be able to repair it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the only way you can repair it is you have to buy a computer, subscribe to the software, and even then you might have to drive it, you know, farms out in the middle of nowhere, you might have to drive it 50 miles or have it towed 50 miles to a dealer.
Wow. Okay.
So there's some litigation out there now where the farmers of America have gotten together and they're trying to have this turned over where they have the right to repair their own equipment.
Okay.
And John Deere is the name that was thrown out at that. Interesting side note about farmers. So when you say, you know, I'm a farmer, you think about, you know, stalks of corn, you know, I don't know, whatever vegetable they're growing.
Mm-hmm.
I think of farmers as very, very smart people. Most farmers, outstanding mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely 99.9% of the farmers out there know how to weld. They know how to fix their own equipment.
Okay.
And they have to do that to survive.
Yeah.
And they usually have a lot of farms will have their own shop.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have their own machine shop. Have their own fab shop. And you know, it's maybe just a small one, but they have what they need. If they need to bore a hole or make a fixture or do whatever is needed to repair that, they can do that on their own property,
mm-hmm.
which makes them very rare individuals. On top of feeding you and your family. So that whole thing, their whole lifestyle is being threatened by this
right to repair.
Right to repair.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. I watched a documentary about farming not too long ago, and I was blown away by the amount of technology that they use for knowing when to plant, knowing when to cultivate the soil, like GPS positioning, so that rows and things all work right. I was
They're
blown
within
away.
a half inch of one another.
Yeah,
those rows, which, you know, in the machine world is, you're like, well, that's crazy. But when you think about that's from a satellite,
yeah,
and that row of corn is within a half inch
that's pretty insane.
over, I don't know, 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
It is pretty freaking insane for sure.
Yeah.
So so what's going to happen on that? And this is a trend I see coming. Now I'm going to flip it all the way back to the BMW.
Okay.
So I used to have this beat up old pickup truck, You know, I bought it for $500. I banged it around. I sold it for $7. I saw it sitting in the yard. I bought it back for $200, and I banged it around for another 11 years. All right, I mean, this is like a crazy thing.
Okay.
And I'm not going to mention my mechanic's name because he used to say to me, "Look," he said, "I'm going to put an inspection sticker on here."
Oh, jeez.
You know, but it barely made it. Okay, but here's the thing: you know, the tires are good, the lights work, and the brakes work, and you're safe. But in New York State, you know, you cannot have bad body work. And I mean, you know, he says, "Oh man, you got too many holes." And I would just show up with duct tape all the holes, and he's like, "Oh," and, you know. But anyhow, something would go wrong with that, and I remember the light switch went bad on it. I'm like, okay, I could order a new light switch, or I could just go down to the local hardware store, and I bought a toggle switch. I drilled a hole in the dashboard and put the toggle switch on. And, you know, I had 2 toggle switches, one for low beam, one for high beam, kind of thing. And the reason I bring that story up is it's kind of funny. You know, I just kept this thing running. And I think there's going to be a trend back where you're going to see, like the guy that owned the BMW and there was no dipstick. You're going to see, you know, if I had a car and I had no dipstick, I'd probably ask my buddies, like, where can we look around the block? Is there a plug or something or a boss that we could drill a hole in, thread in a sensor, and put a gauge, an oil pressure gauge or a dipstick in that? And I think you're going to see a trend
reverse into that,
especially in the farming community, where you might see somebody. Actually, I just went through this. Interesting. Now you made me think of it. Another good friend of ours, Josh Harris from Extreme Shale Performance.
Okay.
So they bought a Mustang. He and his son bought a Mustang to restore.
Okay.
It had a computer in it. Okay. And I said to him, I said, you know, so I got a ride in it, and this thing's like a freaking rocket. And I said to him, so how'd you get around all the computer stuff and everything? He says, oh, that's the first thing we took. We just took that out and
got rid of it.
Got rid of it. So all this, they brought everything back to analog.
Nice.
So I think there's going to be a trend in that direction, and I think a lot of farmers are going to lead the way. Where, you know, a guy's got a John Deere tractor and he's no longer dealing with computer. He's going to find a workaround. Plus, I think there's going to be somebody like yourself that knows how to do coding and programming. There's a little niche business here. Aftermarket, yeah. So I think that's going to be a trend. So if you're thinking about a startup, I think there's going to be a demand, a little niche market out there, especially in the farming community, that there'll be an opportunity to add to your existing business or to start a new business.
Very cool.
So let's peel out another thread.
Okay.
So this one I'm going to talk about, and this all kind of ties together with the stories. I'm going to talk about the different engineering disciplines.
Okay.
So I think we've already established I'm a car guy.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So the reason I like cars for a lot of reasons, but if you follow industrial history, especially in the Industrial Revolution, and if you go back to the early cars coming out of 1920s, 25, 30s, everything about the car was mechanical. So that's one engineering discipline, all mechanical.
Okay. Yep.
And then the car evolves, and the first thing that happen is hydraulic brakes. So now you've got some, you know, that part of the engineering world, hydraulic engineer, involved in that. And then you can take that same thread and follow it to where, you know, you add power steering, air conditioning, you know, you just keep adding to where it's not purely mechanical anymore. It's systems.
Sure.
And used to be used the term automobile mechanic, not anymore. It's a technician. So he has to know,
Makes sense.
right? He has to know air conditioning. He has to know hydraulic systems for the power steering and the power brakes. Side note, you won't see power steering in your car anymore because now servo motors have evolved to where they have the amount of torque and drive-by-wire to where instead of you moving a cylinder, it's just going to be a signal, and the servo motor is going to move a ball screw, and you'll steer by that. So the automobile industry just keeps evolving.
Sure.
And it's just a really good example of how you went from pure mechanical drivetrain through the hydraulic transmission, hydraulic brakes, air conditioning, electronics, to the point to where now we have this kid with a BMW, who, I think he shared with me that his dad bought him the car, and I'm looking at this car, and this car looks like a, I don't know, $45,000, $50,000 car. Yeah. And he, part of the joy of me growing up in that era is we could actually work on cars, hang out, swap parts, talk about things, and I felt kind of bad, But anyhow, so the car has evolved from this pure mechanical powertrain up to this software-driven internal combustion engine.
Okay.
So the thread that I'm going for is it used to be, and you could still see it today in the industrial world today. So if you have a challenge and you're dealing with a mechanical engineer, they have a tendency to want to solve it with mechanics.
Sure.
If you have an electrical engineer, they want to challenge it with electronics, and so on. And it's understandable because everybody wants to go with what they know.
Yeah, if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Exactly. And you also want to be successful and have your customer or your client be successful, so you go with what you know.
Sure.
That's no longer the case. So now you have megatronics, just pushing the disciplines together.
Okay.
And then, so you have megatronics, and you have, sectioned off lines of demarcation between control and response and all that. And so you have, feedback systems, and then you get right into the computer. So,
Okay.
yeah, where do we want to go with that? So that gets back to, when you're looking for that company, or you're looking for that person to address your particular engineering challenge,
Okay.
you need to find a company or that person that thinks in all 5 disciplines.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that's true.
So the tough, again, the challenge is to get, I have a tendency to be mechanical. I've trained myself to be electromechanical. The computer side of it coming in now, I'm oblivious. I have no idea. I just call you. So, but so you have to understand that when you're reaching out to somebody on your project, do they have? Is there a guy that's mechanical on your team? He doesn't necessarily have to be electrical mechanical, but if he's mechanical, does he have an open mind? Same with the electrical guy. One of my other phrases is I like to ask people, when I'm buying equipment, I like to ask these things in my little bundle of phrases. It's like, what happens when it fails? One of my favorite questions.
Well, most things you have to plan that there's going to be a problem.
Right.
And what do you do to solve it?
Yeah, exactly. But the answer I get, and I know I'm going to be picking on some people, and I'm probably going to hear from a few of my friends that are in the electrical discipline or the electronic discipline. From the electrical guys, the control guys, process control guys, I'm going to pick on them a little bit. Here's the phrase I hear: it doesn't fail.
Right.
Nah, it scares me.
Yeah. I mean, probably, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would say probably statistically with electronics, if they last beyond a certain amount of time, they're going to keep working the way they're supposed to.
And that is true. And that is true. All I want to know is what happens when it fails. Is there, you know, well, what do we have to do? We usually have to go into some kind of diagnostic approach.
Yeah.
And then can we go in with your computer? Can we fix what's going on in the software? Or do we just have the software update, or do we just have to take that module out and replace it?
Yeah.
And I just want to understand what goes on, because in my world, everything fails.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between mechanical failure, again, my experience, difference between a mechanical failure and electrical failure is a mechanical failure usually gives you lots of warning. Bearings start knocking and making noise, whatever mechanism you're dealing with. Let's say it could be a transmission.
Mm-hmm.
The transmission bearing is going, it's going to run hot.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature gauges are going to go up. It gives you warning.
Sure.
Electronics, catastrophic failure.
I mean, it depends on the electronics. I mean, sometimes, if you look at logs and stuff, sometimes you'll start to see like, oh, that's weird. There's a hiccup that happened there.
Well, this is curious. Tell me more, because this is something
if you look at if you're looking at server logs, one of the things you can look at is the NIC card, the network card, and network cards fail fairly frequently. So oftentimes you'll see like dropped packets, and that dropped packet will get increasingly big, and like at a certain threshold, just like we need a new NIC card because there's packet loss, and so there's something going wrong there.
This is great. I learned something new. So that's really good. So what are you going to stop doing in the upcoming year?
Oh man, what am I going to stop doing? I don't know. I think I'm going to take less client projects and work on some more internal applications that we can sell. So I think that's
a good one, and it kind of reminds me that even though we're in different worlds, you're in the computer side of things, and I used to own a steel fab shop, and we made parts to customer drawings. I was always looking for that one item that I could get a brand on, and I can, I could mass produce it and bring it out to the masses.
Yep.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners are always searching for that.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have a repeatable product to sell. Don't get me wrong, I love working on client projects. I love being able to bring our unique spin to things, but it'd be really nice to have just a product that's out in the marketplace that we can resell.
What else? What else is in that start doing for the new year?
I don't know. Start doing. I don't know. I think a little bit like what you said. I should really focus in on a few things, which kind of goes along with taking a little bit less client work. Start doing. I think I need to hold myself a little bit more accountable with what new technologies I kind of dive into. Be a little bit more discerning with where I let my attention go.
Yeah, I think I need to pare down again and just focus on some of those things. I wanna end on an interesting note and go all the way back to the young man with the BMW in the parking lot outside the restaurant. So there we are. We're looking at this thing over. My cousin, the mechanic. We're looking this thing over. Young man's asking us questions, and we're chatting with a little bit, and we're probably into this thing for 5 minutes. When the young lady who waited on us for lunch comes out and says to me, "Sir, you forgot your credit card."
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Because, you know, we could have just walked right by, and I would have been on my car and on the way, you know, back here to the office, which would have 79 miles away, and I would have found out, I don't know, 2 days later that my car's gone. So I thought, you know, here we are. We took some time, and you know, it was like instant payback. You know, paying it forward. We're trying to help this guy out.
Nice.
So I'm going to try to do more of that in the new year. I'm going to try to do more acts of kindness, more just paying it forward, and just focusing on what my real purpose in life is. And I started out saying a couple times now that I've been on this earth long enough. So when I first started my business, it's like, okay, this month I got to go out, I got to close so many orders, I got to get so many projects, I got to, you know, sell this much, and I got to pay these bills. Fortunately, I've lived long enough now to where I've overcome that. I've got some momentum, and now it's my life's purpose is to help other people gain momentum, put some money in their pocket, continue to build my network, and really just have fun.
Nice.
Doing what I'm doing. And I want to end on that. Have fun. It's a fun time of the year. New Year's, Christmas, New Year's Eve parties.
Yep.
Just it's a fun time of the year. So I want to thank you for all the help
Sure.
that you've given me, and I want to wish everybody out there that hopefully you'll tune into this video and some of my other videos. My guest is Greg Breen. He is the owner, operator, and founder of Scope Design. My name is Jim Sonoma. What I'd like you to do is smash
that
like button, subscribe, and look at some of my other videos. When I do these, I would like the audience to walk away and say, wow, that is an interesting idea. I think I'll apply that.
Yep.
And with that in mind, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the new year.
Bye.